How important is it to have a content plan for my business?
It is so important. Please have a content plan. At least have a content strategy. Know who you are talking to, which channels, what content is appropriate for which channel, and have different strategy. I'm looking to move jobs in the marketing industry.
I love these questions.
What will make my resume stand out?
I think your resume is like that nice to have. It like ticks the box that says like, cool, she's given me all of the basic details that I need. I hire people that I can trust. I hire people that I know are good at what they do. Is it too late to jump on TikTok?
If you are a brand or a business jumping on TikTok, not too late. Just make sure you understand the platform.
Is boosting my content worth investing in for my business?
I have mixed opinions on boosting content. Please don't.
Welcome back to Top of Mind. We are answering your questions today. Today is a Q&A episode. I'm joined by the lovely Laura, who
Hello.
works with me at Gambit Collective. She is our social media account manager. So she manages a lot of our social media clients. And we're going to answer 5 questions today. So if you haven't listened to one of these episodes before, we answer your questions that we've had from clients, our online community, our followers, our friends, our family, anyone that has shot us questions. We put it into a big document and we work our way through them and answer them. So if you have a question, feel free to send us a DM, leave a voice note on the website, or if you are listening on Spotify, you can use the Q&A function to leave us a question, and we're going to get stuck into it because we have 5 questions that we're going to get through today. Now, the first question, Laura, I'm going to hit you with is, how important is it to have a content plan for my business content?
It is so important. Please have a content plan. At least have a content strategy. Know who you are talking to, which channels, what content is appropriate for which channel, and per channel have like a different strategy.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure top of funnel, you're funneling people in,
Yeah.
you're getting them through either giving them value for free, entertaining them, giving them something that doesn't necessarily say buy my product or book me for my service.
Yeah.
And then you also need that content that converts. So making sure that your strategy includes all of that. Also making sure that your content makes sense on the channel and with each other. But in saying that, I am also a big, big fan of being reactive, especially on social media. I think you have to be with trends, and sometimes you need to jump on something that's going to do really, really well. Get everyone together, hustle, get your graphic designer or your content team or your social media team to kind of drop things, shuffle around the content calendar and do something that's going to move the needle a little bit. So have the strategy, have your content plan in place, but then also be able to react and change things up.
I couldn't agree more, and I don't think I'm going to add anything else on that other than like when people hear the word strategy,
They freak out.
they freak out because it's like, oh, it needs to be this big plan. Now, I've worked for agencies that have submitted like 45-page strategy documents, which is terrifying.
How do you apply the whole 45-page
But
strategy?
the thing for me is like, people don't have time, right? So it's like why we do strategies on a page, a single page strategy, because not only is it easier to make things more difficult, I can fill things out. Anyone that's been to university and has to write, a 50,000 word essay knows how easy to fluff things out it is, right? But if you were to say, hey, I need you to say this in 1,000 words, it would be so much harder. So for us, we like to simplify things. We do a strategy on a page, and strategy is just another word for a plan.
Yeah.
So it's like, have a plan of how you're going to talk about the content, what you're going to talk about, what different channels, as you said, you're going to utilize. And it just has to be really simple so that everybody can understand it.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It makes it easy for your team to understand. If it's kind of you as a founder or a business owner, it makes it something you can go back to when everything else is getting a bit overwhelming. And at least that is simple and you know what's happening with that plan and you're not wasting time thinking about what content you have to create every day.
Agreed.
Love it. Next one. I'm looking to move jobs in the marketing industry.
I love these questions.
What will make my resume stand out?
I would say a resume is important, but I don't think it's the thing that gets you the job.
No.
I think as we spoke about on the last Q&A episode, talking about, whether you should go to university for marketing or not, or whether you should just go and get experience in the industry. I think your resume is like that nice to have. It like ticks the box that says like, cool, she's given me all of the basic details that I need.
She's suitable for this job.
Correct. She's got the skill set. She's got the experience, whatever.
She's not a vet applying for a marketing job.
Totally. But the thing that is going to make your brand or you stand out from the 400 other people that are potentially applying for this role is you. Like, you know, are you posting on LinkedIn? Are you sharing stuff on Instagram or TikTok that is relevant to this role? Like, you know, I had this conversation with somebody that we both know and they were in a similar position. And I was saying to them, submit your resume. Yeah, we can make a few tweaks to your resume. But what content are you putting up on LinkedIn that if they were to search you, I think it's like there's some stat that's like over 70% of people trust online search more than anything else.
Of course.
Right? So they're going to
Look you
LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok to see what you're doing and to see where you're posting. If you love this episode, help us to grow and reach more people by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a review. If you're wanting to get into a role that is heavy in social media, the first place I'm looking at your profiles is social media. So I would say, you know, some of the really cool examples that I've seen over time is like, you know, one person that is applying for a role kind of in a TikTok or social media space. She did her resume and then she had a link where she'd created an entire TikTok profile that was like a TikTok resume. And she had essentially built every video to talk about the different things. So, you know, there was one video on one of her jobs and her experience there, one video on like, you know, things that she likes doing outside of work, one video on why she's the perfect candidate for the role. And it just shows that kind of extra step, but like the commitment to that role, and she's already doing the thing that you're potentially going to hire her for. So I think where there's proof that somebody is already doing those things, like as a business owner, I'm going to hire somebody that I can see is already doing that. Like when I hired you, I could see that you were already active on social media. You were already creating content. You were already you understood the platforms because you were doing it weekly. So I don't think I would hire somebody for your role that wasn't on social media or isn't doing it themselves. Platform. Totally. So I think, that's where I would kind of look at it from, is like your resume is fine and your resume is important, but I think in terms of something that allows you to be kind of to stand out from the rest of the applicants, what is it that you can do to show that you are doing this all the time and you do understand, you know, the space that you're going into or the job or the role that you want to be doing.
Completely agree. I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh my
Nothing
gosh.
to add.
Wow, we are flying. Okay, question 3. Is boosting my content worth investing in for my business?
I have mixed opinions on boosting content. I was having this conversation yesterday in our office with someone in our paid team. Boosting content, if you are working with an agency or some type of marketing specialist, please don't go in and just boost your content randomly. If you need some type of approach, if you need more people in the door, more conversions, more people on a page, just talk to the team first and they may be able to put in a strategy that is going to be better than boosting content.
Yeah.
For example, a Meta campaign is going to be much more effective. Yes, you can target who you want to when you're boosting, but a specific like purpose-built campaign is always going to be better. I think, it's a bit of a hard one, especially when you're boosting content as well, that then is going to alter your kind of organic results. So I can go to a TikTok page. It's easier to see on TikTok, specifically when people are doing Spark ads. And I can see if the page normally has maybe 500 views per video and then one of them has 140,000.
Yeah.
I know that that's been used as an ad. It might still be great content and there's no harm in doing that. And if you really want to get that piece of content out there, great, boost it. But I would just say think about the purpose first and if there are any other ways to achieve that first. These platforms want you to spend money. They want people to spend more time on the platform and see the ads. That's how they make their money, essentially. You can still spend money on those platforms, but just think about, is there a different way to do so?
I agree. I think the only thing that I would add to that is that I think people's first instance when they're trying to grow their platform is like, well, we'll just spend money so that people can turn up and see, like more people can see this, right? And one of the things we see a lot of is people coming to us being like, we want to run a paid campaign, but they're not creating content organically and consistently. So when you're boosting a post and directing people to your profile, but you don't have consistent content going up, you're essentially paying people to turn up to an empty shop.
Or it's not good content.
Exactly.
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
So it's like, get your one thing I would say before boosting anything is get your organic strategy in terms of consistently posting there right first before you start posting any like boosted or paid campaigns on social media.
100%. Get everything else in order first. Like, you wouldn't invite people into your shop and it's half done under construction.
Totally.
And then say, look how amazing this is, buy my product.
Yeah.
And it's not even a painted room.
And I think that comes back to the idea of like, you only get one shot for a first impression, really. Like, first impressions count. And I think that, you know, if someone lands on your branded content and it's a, you know, boosted piece of content, they're like, oh, that's cool. Then click on your profile and there's 4 posts and they're all shit. Do you think that
dodgy,
person's
it's a scam?
Totally.
And then I see that ad again and I'm not clicking on it.
Do you think that that person's going to come back to your page again when they see the next piece of boosted content? No.
Not at all.
So you're better off getting the foundations right. It's like one of the things of how we structure our scopes of work. We do the foundational elements. What do you need to get right first? Then how do you amplify those foundational elements? And then how do you boost that? So I think that, yeah, being able to get those foundational elements right first and foremost before you spend any money boosting or, you know, with paid campaigns. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
And money.
And money.
Which, if you are a small business
You
or
don't have
any
a lot
business,
of.
actually, you don't want to be wasting money.
Totally.
Hey guys, if you are listening on Spotify, do not forget to give us a 5-star rating. It will help us to reach more people.
Next question is, how can I ensure my content is professional on LinkedIn?
Oh,
Loaded question.
How long do we have? I think I must get this question at least like once a fortnight. Number one, I always say and question people on what their opinion of professional is. Now, the reason I do that, and I can talk about this for hours, but I'm not going to, is because I, over the years of working in the industry, have been told that my hair color isn't professional, my nails aren't professional, me turning up to work in activewear isn't professional, albeit before hours, whatever. Again, I'm not going to get into this, but the definition of professionalism or being a professional is essentially doing your job. So I would then go back to this question if I was talking to the person that asked this question and say, what does being professional mean to you? Because I think that a lot of people, especially leaders and managers, have a different perception of what being professional means. And I think that a lot of people use professional to hide behind not actually having to articulate what it is that they don't like about their person. So I would say, being a professional on LinkedIn or professional content, essentially, if you're talking about something that ladders up to what you do for work or is around what you do for work, that is professional. So I would say how you show up for work, the conversations that you're having at work, if you have conversations about your kids, if you have conversations about what you got up to on the weekend, that is professional content. So I think that instead of asking yourself what is professional content, instead ask yourself these, like I triage these things, right? Like I do the parent test. My parents have me on social media. If I don't feel comfortable with my parents seeing a piece of content on social media, I won't post it. That's my one triage mark, right? Like, am I okay with my parents seeing this content? Yes or no? The next thing is like, say it out loud. If that piece of content you wouldn't say out loud in a room full of your colleagues or employees, don't post it. So that's the next point that I go past. And then the third point that I go past is if you would be happy to see this post on the side of a bus or on the 6 o'clock news with your headshot next to it, would you be okay with it? They're the 3 triage points. So instead of, I think professionalism is a really like ambiguous term that a lot of people use, and it can mean different things for a lot of different people. Whereas if you use those 3 triage points of, you know, I mean, not everyone has the same relationship with their parents that I do. So for me, I go, well, are my parents okay with seeing this? Yes or no? Post it. Then I go, okay, am I okay saying this out loud? If I was to read this post out loud in my work environment or to my employees or employer, would I be comfortable? Yes or no? Post it. And then would I be okay if this was screenshot and put on the side of a bus or on the 6 o'clock news? And so I think instead of saying, is this professional enough? Use those 3 triage points instead because they give you clearer goalposts.
100%. And I've fallen into this trap as well when I first started posting on LinkedIn. Traditionally, you see it as this professional platform and it's very corporate, and it doesn't matter if you're in a corporate job or not. You still think that you have to show up and be corporate. I've had friends send me posts and they're in a creative industry and they've said, oh, can you read this? And I said, it doesn't sound like you.
Yeah.
Like, you're a DJ, you're a graphic designer. Why are you writing as if you're high up in a law firm?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense to the audience you're trying to go to. So I've definitely felt kind of that pressure, and it can be scary even to post in the first place, and then putting that filter on it of, is it professional? People just go, this is too much. Or, you know, you get told the internet is forever. People screenshot it. You can delete it. People screenshot it. That's forever.
Yeah.
So less similar to your points of like, well, am I happy if my parents see it? Am I happy if it's on the bus? I just think about, like, I write a lot of content on LinkedIn that references either my role or Gambit Collective or working with you. You don't approve any of that content. You trust me that I know I can be writing freely, and you encourage me to write freely. So I think about, how does this reflect on me? How does this reflect on the business and on Hayley as my boss? Would she be happy with that? And also, if I am kind of mentioning any tactics or any work we've done, would the client be happy with that? Or am I able to share it in a way that it may not mention the client specifically, but I can still tell a story in that sense? So just kind of reflecting on, if all these people saw it, what would they think? That pretty much saves it. And it doesn't have to be corporate. And if you are using ChatGPT, read it out loud and think about if that sounds like you.
Yeah.
It can be great if you're stuck in a writer's block or something like that, and you're like, I want to write about this. And then you could take that, and you might only use 1 sentence or half a sentence, but it gets you going with your flow.
Yeah.
So just read it out loud and think about who's seeing it is my...
Totally. And the last thing I will add to that is, if you're a business owner or leader or manager, you mentioned it before, like, I don't review any of your content. I don't review any of the team's content. I actually don't even review any of the content that you guys create for our Instagram or TikTok, really. Like, there's sometimes that you'll be like, oh, do you like this? And it's more of like a do you like, not can you approve.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions I get from a lot of businesses.
FYI.
Yeah. FYI, this is going live at 6 p.m. and I'm like, oh, good. Like, I look like shit in that, but we roll. Content is more important. I think a lot of business owners or like leaders or managers that I speak with when we're talking about like the personal branding workshops that we run, they go, oh, you know, how do you trust that like the employer or the employee is going to be writing the right stuff and like saying the stuff that you want them to talk about? And what I would say to that is that it comes down to the people that you hire. Like, I hire people that I can trust. I hire people that I know are good at what they do. And I wouldn't hire people that don't have the same values as me or the business. So I don't approve your content because I know that A, you're a good person. B,
Thank you.
you understand what the business is. You're invested in the business and in the growth of the business because of the way in which we structure incentives and things like that. But I trust that you're not going to say the wrong thing. Like, you know, a conversation that I had with a client recently around this is, you know, if you're a really sustainably focused business and you've got someone coming in and writing content about, you know, why coal mining is the best thing for the business, like for the world, you've not dug deep enough on that person's values to know that they're a right fit for the business. So I would say that a large amount of the fear that comes from trusting your employees to write content for you comes from the fact that you don't have a set of employees that have the same values as you, or you've not hired with values in mind.
And I think from the other direction from an employee up, it's also about the culture that's created by the business owner, your manager, the boss, the company, about empowering your team to say, hey, we'd love you to write, we'd love you to post. Here are some things that maybe we leave out.
Yeah.
If you want to have that conversation, you just empower your team to say, this stuff, maybe we don't touch it, but anything else, go for it. We trust you. Write about your role. And it's just, so then as an employee, when I'm writing, I'm not scared.
Totally.
I'm not overthinking it. I'm not removing things that may have actually been powerful for other people to see, because I know my boss trusts me and we can write what we're able to write freely.
I think it's the one thing that we see all the time with when we do these personal branding workshops is the employees are fucking terrified of their boss.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I'm scared I'm going to say the wrong thing. Whereas if one of the things I actually get each of the managers or leaders or bosses to do when we do those workshops is stand at the front of the room and be like, tell them why we're here. Tell them why you've invested in a personal branding workshop for them. Because you want them to start writing content. You give them full approval to start talking about what they do for work online. And I think that there's nothing more compelling than having like a top-down approach with that.
Yeah.
If you see me writing content, you're more inclined to write content. If, other people see their leaders or their bosses writing content and turning up weekly or daily or whatever on social media, that then trickles through the rest of the business. So I definitely think it is a top-down approach.
Agreed.
Last question.
Last one.
Is it too late to jump on TikTok?
Never. I think from this episode and our previous Q&A episode, I love TikTok. Never too late to jump on TikTok. Yes, people saw extreme growth when it first came out or even kind of into 2021, but people are still seeing that. Brands are still seeing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's about understanding the platform is my number one tip. If you are a brand or a business jumping on TikTok, not too late. Just make sure you understand the platform. Look at what other brands are doing, what other creators are doing. It is a very different platform in the way that salesy content pretty much won't fly at all.
Yeah.
You have to be don't have to be, but showing up on camera. I know faceless content and aesthetic content is very popular, but it's so powerful, and we tell our clients this as well. Some of them aren't comfortable doing it, but showing up as the business owner or your employees and the team, employee-generated content is what it's called, and it is outperforming a lot of branded content at the moment because we're sick of being advertised to. Yeah. We want to see employees having fun or office fit checks or things we can relate to that are a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative. That is what TikTok is for. So if your brand is not ready for that, don't jump on TikTok. It's not the platform for you, but it's not too late if you are open to that approach.
Yeah, I would say, at the end of the day, like no one, when Instagram started, it didn't look and go, oh, MySpace is already doing something similar, like I'm not going to do it. I think you're always going to get a benefit if that's where your audience is and that's, the type of content. But I think with TikTok in particular, we know it firsthand. Know and be ready for the amount of content you're going to have to generate to be successful. Like turning up consistently on that platform is one of the biggest indicators of success. And I think the brands that do it well know that and they're prepared for that. So I think if you are looking to jump on TikTok, be prepared for the beast that it is and the amount of content that you're going to have to generate.
And back to question one that we had, have a content plan specifically for TikTok and that channel. But have fun with it.
Yeah. See you on TikTok. Tag us,
Follow us. Shameless plug.
That's it. That is everything. That was a super quick episode. Q&A, 5 questions done. If you have any questions that you are interested in asking us or getting us to answer, if you're listening on Spotify, use the Q&A function. If you are listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, feel free to leave it in the comments or send us a DM, or you can leave us a voice note on our website at Top of Mind.
One last thing from me, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you could leave us a review or hit the subscribe button wherever you are listening or watching this podcast.